What's up, everybody, and welcome to the 14th episode of our F750 CrewCab build series. In the previous episode, you watched us mock up our engine bay, which means in today's episode, we are going to remove and remount the fuel tank from our 2016 donor truck into the F750. So there's nothing to it but to do it. Stay tuned. First up for today is we are going to get the fuel tank out of the donor truck, dropped out from underneath it, and we're going to mock it up under the F750. We are going to most likely put it somewhere right in here, so that way the flatbed, where the flatbed is and the fuel tank, it lines up with the fuel neck and things like that. With doing that and putting it here, since the donor truck is an extended cab and not a crew cab, the fuel lines aren't going to be as long or anything like that, but this is kind of the only place we can put it. It'll fit with the drive line, and there's a lot of bracing up underneath here, and that's pretty much the only place we can put it. And then also, for the sake of the filler neck, it's got to go there. So I'm going to jump over to the donor truck, drop it out from underneath it, and we will start mocking up mounting points for it throughout here. Well, there's the fuel tank. When I bought this truck, I drove it to where it's almost on empty. I was actually worried I wasn't going to make it here, but I did do that on purpose. This tank is pretty dang empty, which means it's pretty dang light. So with maneuverability, it helps. Now, obviously, there is some sloshing of diesel going back and forth, but yeah, if you're ever going to do this, make sure your fuel tank is pretty much completely drained out and that you've used all the fuel, or siphon it out, whichever one you want to do, because this is decently heavy, and then once the fluid starts swaying back and forth, it does get off balance and off kiltered, and it's kind of a pain in the butt to move. So just make sure you're running on E before you disassemble a truck for a swap. Alrighty, we got the fuel tank out. We're nice and tight up underneath here, so you're going to forgive me if everything is up close to the camera. So essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out where all these straps sit. Obviously there's one here, there's one that went right there, that went right there as well. And I'm going to get measurements along the frame and figure out where they start and stop, so that way when we go to this F750, we can also line these out the same distance apart, so that way they're in the exact location. The fuel tank does have a little bit of a groove up underneath it where this slots in there, so they do have to be back in the factory position that they are in right now in this donor truck. So that's what I'm going to do next. This also gives us the ability to clean this up. It's kind of disgusting. This used to be a landscaping company truck, obviously you can tell. It's kind of crazy. Anything we tear apart just has grass clippings all over the place, but that's okay. The F750 had mud, literally probably hundreds of pounds of mud caked on it. Anyways, this also gives us the ability to start tearing out the rest of the wiring harness. We do have some brake lines. We have the fuel lines right here. We have some wiring on each side. We did drop the exhaust, the diff, or not the diff. I don't know, I can't think of that. Oh, the DPF, sorry. I brain fart. We did drop it, so that way we can get rid of it, because this is a 1976 truck, so we don't have to worry about any of that. And yeah, we'll get going on tearing all this out, because we do want to run it into the F750 before we start tearing it all apart again. I don't know if we're going to be able to reuse these. Obviously, we'll reuse the fittings because they are specific to the fuel tank, but the lines, since this is an extended cab and not a crew cab, it is going to be pushed further back, so we are going to need to make some custom lines ourselves. But yeah, pretty straightforward. I am going to take the shield off because I'm going to use it on the F750 as well. But yeah, pretty straightforward. We'll get this knocked out of the park, then we'll come and grab this bad boy, get it mounted up as well. So there's nothing to it but to do it. Let's get some grass clippings everywhere. Alrighty, we got the fuel tank dropped out of the donor truck, and our first initial thought was to put it back here underneath the bed. But then we started running into the issue of the wiring harness not reaching far enough and some other issues. We were going to put it inside of the frame rails, but it wasn't going to fit with the drive shaft. So our second thought was to put it on the outside of the frame rails, because that's how the factory fuel tank is on the F750. So we were going to shove it up underneath the cab, but right here, this step that all dent side cabs have, right there, that is in the way of the tallest portion of the fuel tank. So what we're going to do is we are going to slide it back to where the short portion of the fuel tank sits, and that'll sit underneath this rear door, and then where it kind of goes up and into place, it'll protrude past the cab and sit right there. We should still be fine with wiring harnesses and things like that, but we might have to mock it up and redo it, possibly. Alrighty, we got the fuel tank straps mounted to the frame. We have 2 bolts on each one. One right there, one right there, one right there. Then each of them have 2 bolts in it. Now they are all different lengths just because that's how it was in the donor truck, because the frame angled down and kept going. This whole frame is completely flat. So we had to accommodate for that by like this one. You can see we had to take the bend out of it, so we couldn't strap it on top of the frame like this one. And then that one, we did the same thing. That one, they were all essentially like this, but we had to take this the bends out of these. Obviously this is isn't permanent right here, but for the sake of getting it on there and fitted, we tossed that wire on. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of sheet metal and I'm going to make a strap that goes around each one. I will 90-degree it, so it'll be flat on this, then 90 up and come around, then the same thing, it'll just land right here and bolt together. Same thing with the other 2. We will just 90 them, and then they'll just bolt right in here, use the same exact holes and the same exact bolts and nuts. And for the most part, I think that'll be probably pretty good. I mean, this thing is pretty firm already, and there's nothing even bolting it on. It's literally just this. So once we get 3 of those straps around there and tighten down, I think we'll be good to go. The filler necks are in a good location. Like I said, we have a flatbed we're going to put on this. So if you're looking at the flatbed, it'll be somewhere around here. We have enough play with it that we can kind of go this way with it, whatever we want. And then looking down, the biggest issue was if it was going to protrude past the cab, because we're on the outside of the frame instead of the inside. But looking down the cab, it's still within the means of the cab, so we're pretty stoked about that. Aren't we, Kyle? That's good. Kyle's over there cleaning up hubs. He's got the crappy job for the day. So I'm gonna get started on making some straps with the scraps, and we'll give you guys an update here soon. Well, the F750 CrewCab now has a fuel tank from a 2016 Super Duty. I got it all mounted in finally, and so far it is sitting pretty level with the frame. Now the frame's not 100% level because we have it jacked up on the front and the back because we're working on the axles. So we couldn't just put a level on here and make sure it was level because the frame's not level. So we had to make the two level with each other so that way when everything is back on the wheels and tires, they are level with each other. So that way one side of the fuel tank doesn't hold all the fuel and our fuel gauge is all off. So here are our straps. Kyle had the idea of putting kind of like a stopper in the front and the back, just a piece of metal, kind of from the frame around to attach to this one, and same with the front. Because even though this is attached and firm, it doesn't stop it from sliding front and or forward and backwards. Now in the donor truck, it did have a stop. It was securely fastened, but this one doesn't. So we're gonna grab a little piece of metal, probably a little square tubing, and bring it around. But that is the gist of it. Pretty easy, pretty self-explanatory. We'll have to clean these up when we take them off and paint them. But yeah, that is it. We like how well it tucks into the cab, or up underneath the cab. There's still enough room right here to put a a step to get into the cab, and it looks pretty sharp. All right, you guys, that's a wrap for today's episode. We got the fuel tank installed. It's right there. We got the wiring harness ran to it, which means in the next episode, we can work on the front and rear axle. You guys have probably seen Kyle working on that in the background. There's the rear. The front's up there. I just got back from Oregon picking up the rear axle from a 2016 F650 that was wrecked. Hopefully by keeping everything in 2016, it'll be a plug-and-play system with ABS sensors, with the emergency brake cable, and it'll be a simple remove of the old axle, bring in the new one, toss some wheels and tires on it, and run with it. So we appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you on the next one.